Fuck that up big time, but Ben will be having words with me after. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Wolf United. I'm so pleased that I can talk about something positive tonight, and it was a really good second half performance. As John kindly said in a tweet earlier, we've got our name on it. So hopefully that happens. But listen, I'll see you on the other side shortly, and we've got lots to discuss.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello. Did that appear for you, the intro, or it was just a black screen for me? Maybe it's my shitty PC and it's on its knees again. But anyway, listen, I'm really happy with that result tonight. It's exactly the comeback that we wanted to see. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. We'll get in the comments in a moment. Yeah, man. Sancho was man of the match for me. Fred played exceptionally well. And 2-0. And as we said backstage as well, you know, nobody outside of Spain has gone to their turf and beaten them in 3 years, which is quite incredible. John, lovely to see you, mate. You can soothe me with your words anytime, but what were your thoughts on that, my man?
I think if can you hear me okay? Cool. I think if if that had been any experienced coach in the dugout, we'd be heaping praise on them for the masterclass that they put on from a tactical point of view, from a fact that I don't think we were ever. I mean, I think we were lucky in that Villarreal are a little bit impotent, and our back four were troubled at times. But I always felt as though Villarreal weren't going to score. And obviously the substitutions made a big difference. And I do think in the last half an hour, it did only look like one winner. Really pleased for Sancho. I thought actually, in all the maelstrom that has occurred over the last sort of 72 hours or so, it was actually one of the things that got lost in all of that, and understandably so, was that actually Sancho, I thought, did all right on the weekend. One or two people said he wasn't that great in the first half, but I actually thought him and to a lesser extent Van der Beek were the only two people that could lead that pitch at Vicarage Road with their head held high. Fortunately, tonight we had a few more good performers. David De Gea did his job. Back four, I'm not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka, but actually, I mean, he did a beautiful assist. He turned into Cafu for 30 seconds when he set up Ronaldo, albeit that Ronaldo ended up putting it wide. But yeah, I'm in a good mood, and I'm sure we all are. I mean, we're through as far as I'm aware, because we've got a better head-to-head result now against Villarreal, I think we should go through as group winners, actually. So yeah, as I say, name on the trophy.
Excellent. And yeah, I think we have to get a point from the next game in order to top the group, which obviously we need to be striving for. So, but yeah, I mean, done and dusted, through to the next round. Andrew, good to see you on again, buddy. I hope you're well. Thanks for your preview. For those of you in the comments, go and check that out. Always a great read. Yeah, bro, what were your thoughts on tonight as well?
I was going to say it's an important win for United, but we've got a long way to go. I mean, after like Saturday's performance, it's one step getting back to the way United should be. But it wasn't by any means it wasn't the most entertaining of games, but because in previous games we'd been conceding goals for fun, and I think the way Carrick set it up, he was being pragmatic and was like, we're going to make it difficult for Villarreal to break us down. I mean, the first half, as they were saying on commentary, when we was on the attack, it was in a 4-3-3, and then when we was defensively, it went to a 4-4-2. So and he made some big calls, Carrick, because I was expecting to see Fernandes and Rashford in the starting 11. He thought, he's chosen Van der Beek and onto the side. So I'm glad Donny got his start as well. I say he's probably him and Sancho in the first half were probably the ones that doing something with the ball, and say in the second half we was like more professional, getting more professional, and say as the space was starting to open up, and Carrick was like, keep hold of it, and then we'll just like turn on the attack. And I mean, Ronaldo, what more can you say about Ronaldo? He just delivers once again. But also we've got to be
superhuman, isn't he?
We also got to be a bit in debt to David De Gea as well. Some of the saves he pulled off. I mean, if he's looking at the way he was last season, you wouldn't expect him to pull off those saves, but he seems to be back to the David we've always known. So they say qualifications assured, and I mean the next game against Young Boys, we can play some of those players that haven't got any game time in the Champions League. Like Ahmad was on the bench tonight, so maybe Carrick might decide if he's still in charge by then, unless we've got this interim or whoever. It might be a new manager, then can give some of those fringe players a bit more game time. So very important win.
Until then, Carrick's at the wheel, right? Fred, good to see you, buddy. Not in relation to Ed in any way, shape or form. I hope you're well, mate. It's good to see your face back on. Yeah, I mean, we set up to not concede, and it was good that we didn't. You know, we needed to we've conceded so many goals. I think other than the Spurs game, we had conceded in our last 20-odd games, which is pretty damning. And I think that's where they needed to, you know, do that as a team, as Rio kind of alluded to. And it was great to not see us concede tonight. But any special mentions or thoughts from you, Fred?
Definitely. I almost forgot what it was like or the feeling of having a clean sheet. So that's a huge positive, and hopefully I can give the boys a lot of confidence going forward. In terms of special mentions, like John mentioned earlier, I think Sancho was fantastic today. He was probably one of the bright sparks in the first half, albeit it was just a bleak first half in general. I think the subs changed the game for the better. Rashford's energy, Rashford's ability to run beyond the defence and come deep when needed, that really changed the game, in my opinion. Even Bruno's quality on the ball too. But it's just fantastic having an orthodox right winger. I think the past few years, most of our attacks we've just relied so much on the left, whether it be Luke Shaw bombing forward, making those overlapping runs, or Rashford and Martial. We've had no orthodox winger on the right, and it's just refreshing seeing Sancho flourish there. Albeit, there's question marks around Wan-Bissaka's ability going forward. He did look well in spells. And I thought the midfield was a bit lackluster in attack. We lacked sort of those progressive passes today. Van der Beek tried in the first half, but it wasn't really working. Villarreal are very good. They play very narrow, and there's not much space in between the midfield and defence, so that's partly the reason. But I think huge credit has got to go to Fred. He was the main architect of both goals, pressing, tackling and assisting or contributing to the goals in that way. And him and McTominay, I think McTominay had quite a poor game, but Fred, you know what you're going to get. He's our only presser in midfield. He's the only one with legs. I must admit, I had a bit of a heart attack when it looked like he rolled his ankle in the first half, because I think he's the only one in the team that can do that job. But overall, it was an okay game. A few sparks: Sancho, Fred, Ronaldo's Champions League Ronaldo. What more can you say? But at the end of the day, the result was the most important thing, and hopefully we can get that 1 point to top the group and progress and take this momentum into the league as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you said about Villarreal playing narrow, actually, because as you can see from from the attacking sides here, we did play quite a bit down the left hand side, and that would have been something that was obviously said, hopefully from the coaches and Carrick, and obviously they did very, very well. So that was really good to see. A couple more bits, Roland. Thanks for coming on, bro. I don't know if you've been on before. Certainly not on one of my ones, and I do appreciate you coming on. And obviously, as I've said to everybody in the last few weeks, apologies for coming on in not so good circumstances, but it's changed, so maybe we'll have to get you on more often, mate. But how do you feel after that? Obviously, everyone's pretty elated, pretty positive, but what were your overall thoughts on that?
I'm going to say, first of all, thank you for letting me on to the channel. This is my first time on the channel, so I know you guys have done a lot of streams, so you probably haven't seen my face anyway before. But in terms of the game, we got to give a special shout out to Sancho. The stuff that this guy's been through, rival fans dragging him on social media, obviously coming into the team as a £73 million signing in the summer. For him to put on that performance today, where it just looked like there was a weight off his shoulders, and he kind of stuck to the game that he knows. I feel like Oli was trying to turn him into this kind of direct kind of winger, which is not his game. And we all know that. He's close control. He likes to beat a man. And he was doing a lot of that in the first half specifically, but then also in the second half as well. Obviously, he got his goal today. So, we got to give him a special shout out. Fred as well. Fred performed very well. And I feel like Champions League nights is where we see the best of Fred. I don't know if it's just because the game is a little bit slower, and he's able to, just take control of that area in midfield and make sure he presses the opposing midfielder, for example. But yeah, and then obviously David De Gea. I mean, that's my number one. I don't know about everybody else. Everybody was talking about Dean Henderson and all of that. I never believed none of that nonsense. Like, he had his dip. This guy was he was player of the year 4 years out of 5. You can't disrespect a man like that. He's come back. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He loves the club with all his heart, and he did it again today. He's kept us in the game. And then obviously Champions League Ronaldo, as you said, Mark. Like, you know, he's just Mr. Inevitable. Scores another goal again today, which I thought he would, because he looked like the only spark in the Champions League that we've had across this campaign so far. And what more can you say? Through to the next round. I'm happy.
Good. I'm glad you're happy, mate. Yeah, I think we all are. And yeah, I mean, we're just missing Champions League Varane tonight, and we would have had a full house. But unfortunately, still injured at the moment. Hopefully, he gets back and we see him in the team soon. But to be honest with you, I think we defended pretty well tonight. You know, Villarreal did test us, especially in that first half. And but I thought we were resolute, and it was really good to see. Marcus, great to have you on again, my man. Yeah, same for you, bro. How do you feel after that, and your general thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think towards the end it was definitely a magnificent performance. I think if you want to be cynical, you could say that we didn't really learn anything new from today's performance. It was very pragmatic. It was very much, get the clean sheet and focus on, getting the win towards the end of the game. You could see that by the impact substitutions. The front four was very interesting. I expected a lot more creativity, particularly in that first half. So I found the front four quite interesting. I mean, Donny playing in the 10, that was confusing considering he had a man of the match performance against Watford playing in the pivot as opposed to the 10. But, we won at the end of the day, so I'm not going to be too critical of the coaches. And it's the same coaching staff. So I think anybody who expected anything different today, you're just being naive at the end of the day. I think we all knew the general consensus was, especially on my timeline, was that today was very much about the performance and we're not going into it expecting anything too different. So I'm very happy. And I think the one thing we could have done better off the ball, even though we were very compact and even though I think we were good defensively, is, we pressed a couple of weeks ago against Liverpool. That was very confusing because they're one of the best teams in the league. If you want to try a high press, you do it against a team in Europe because you want to push them out of their comfort zone. You want to make sure that they don't have time and space on the ball. And I think we gave Villarreal too much of that in the first half and towards the beginning portion of the second half. But again, we got the result, especially when you win by that many goals. Regardless of how the goals come, you've just got to take it how it is. So I'm happy.
Good. Everyone's happy. That's really good to know. A little bit of positivity. Yeah, it was, so first off, as I said, it was a little bit lackluster. And I thought we were going to get a little bit the same, to be honest with you, but we took our chance in the second half. Ronaldo's finish was excellent, and Fred sort of said, and Roland said earlier, he's just a different specimen. He's 36 years of age, he looks 26, and he scores goals for fun. And I tell you what, if it weren't for him this season, we would be in an absolute shitstorm. And I just thank him again tonight for scoring that beautiful goal and opening everything up. John, I like the fact that you changed the name on the trophy. Let's try and keep that going, and we might see that come May. But yeah, talk about Jadon Sancho. Really, I think he's been a bit underestimated this season. I know he's not sort of been that flair player that's getting the goals and assists, but I think he's played very well every time we've seen him. And I thought he played very well. Even though we lost 4-1, I thought he was our most dangerous player. I thought he was actually okay against City when he came on. And he was incredible tonight. And I'm just so pleased he's now broken that duck and got that goal. And hopefully he can kick on from here. But what were your thoughts on him tonight in particular? And do you think he's been a bit sort of criticised a bit too much?
Yeah, I think he probably has. I mean, until the last sort of few days, I only remember him starting against Southampton. I don't know if I'm wrong on that, but he's obviously now started 2 on the bounce. And he was actually absent for pretty much all of the disastrous, couple of weeks, obviously losing to Leicester and then followed by Liverpool. And I was actually surprised. I thought he would start against Liverpool. I mean, it seems such a long while ago in so many ways, but I actually expect him to start that game because I just think that he does offer us something different, both on the counter-attack and in possession. And it's good. It's taken him 2 or 3 months. I mean, some players take a year or 2 to adapt to the Premier League. And I know, he obviously is from the UK or from England originally, but he's been absent in most of his sort of footballing lifespan, if you like, has been spent in Germany. So yeah, I don't think we can complain if it takes him a couple of months to adapt. I haven't got any complaints. I'm happy. I want him to adapt as soon as possible. But as I say, I mean, I remember players in the early 2000s, Pires, Henry, Bergkamp to some extent at Arsenal. They all took 12 months plus to adapt to the Premier League. In fact, in Henry's case, even slightly longer. And then we all know what happened there. United have had players like that too, who didn't necessarily hit the ground running, but they did shortly after. So. Yeah, I'm very pleased with Sancho. I'm not gonna. I mean, the name on the trophy thing is obviously a slight tongue in cheek. Listen, we're through.
I feel it's genuine, and I'm going to take that.
Take it as you wish. I mean, I'm just pleased to be through, of course, and that's the name of the game at this stage. Do I think Michael Carrick is the answer to all our prayers? No. Do I think that everything's fine again? Absolutely not. Do I think we've got bigger tests to come for our back four in particular? Absolutely. I think there are still huge question marks over Wan-Bissaka, Shaw. Obviously, he didn't play tonight, Shaw, and also Maguire. They need to do 2 or 3 months of excellent work before we can start thinking of those guys being out the woods. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, we need to be excited. I mean, actually, tonight reminded me of some of the European aways under Ferguson and some very successful European aways, and sometimes even en route to actually winning the trophy. Nice one. Yeah, I mean, I remember us drawing against Marseille and also Lyon with a late equaliser from Carlos Tevez on the way to winning it in 2008. But actually, if there's a match that really reminded me most about tonight, was actually Valencia in 2010, Chicharito getting us a last-minute winner. And that season, we got to the final. And it was a classic kind of European away performance under Ferguson. And there's not many better compliments that I can pay from that to the team tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points, well made. Just a quick one. Number of you like him, please like, subscribe, and share. We do really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And get in. I've actually got a special guest that's just popped up. I don't know if his internet's going to be alright. I don't know if he's going to sound like he's in a tin.
We're in the Champions League, Mark.
How did I know you were going to say that? How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm great, mate. We've got the best manager in.
Here we go.
In four right
Here
now,
we go. He's
record.
gone.
That didn't take long.
No, it didn't take long. Do you know what I timed that, bro? I think it was about 7 seconds. So you're doing really well.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got the best manager in world football, 100% record.
Were you pleased with the performance tonight?
No, obviously not. I'm not going to sit here and say we were amazing. For the first half we were quite poor. But I don't know what anyone else was expecting. It was always going to be a difficult game. They lost their manager 3 days ago. They've had one training session with him. It was be ridiculous levels. Sorry, I'm just going to keep talking. I know I've lagged, but I'm going to keep talking. So second half was better. I thought once we made the changes, we were a lot better. Bruno, Sancho was good when working with Bruno. And Rashford was lively, yeah.
Great stuff. Good to see you back on, buddy. Roland, I'm going to come to you next, mate. I thought Alex Telles was pretty good tonight, actually. We've not really seen a lot of that from him since we signed him. A lot of question marks over him. But he filled the void tonight, I think. Obviously, Luke Shaw's been a bit poor, taken out, concussion possibly. But I thought he was good. And obviously, from the graph I showed a moment ago, we did have a lot of our attacking threat down that left-hand side. So what were your thoughts on how he played tonight?
I mean, I like Alex Telles, man. I feel like, he's disrespected by the fan base when we look and consider his career up until United. Like, he was a mainstay in that Porto side. I think 10 years he was there, a Champions League regular. So he has experience under his belt. And so him coming in to become an understudy to Luke Shaw, I didn't understand it, but that's the manager's choice. Now, as for tonight, like, there was a few crosses he put into the box to Ronaldo that I thought, yeah, this is what I want to see. Like, I want to see my left back.
And that's something we've seen, haven't we, on many occasions. We know he's got a great whip on him, and we want to see that more. For someone like Cavani and Ronaldo in the middle, that's exactly what you want to see. I'm not saying Luke can't do that. We've seen an improvement, but he's just so pinpoint.
And this is what I want to see from my fullbacks, because when you have somebody like Ronaldo in your team or Cavani in your team, you're going to need somebody to go on the outside because our wingers are inverted. You need the fullbacks to go on the outside and put balls into the box, because Ronaldo's got that amazing leap. He's going to be able to get those goals for us as well in the air. People talking about his defensive abilities and him being a bit shaky. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, in modern day football, I don't think that many fullbacks are really that great defensively. It's about what they do going forward anyway. And if we want to be the side that we want to be in the future, where we're attacking, you know, it's just about making sure the positioning is right. Like if you know his tackling maybe not the best, or his interceptions or anticipation might not be the best. So I mean, but yeah, I like Tellez, man, and I feel like he's going to have a bit of a chance now with a new manager. Luke Shaw's going to have to put in a bit of work to try and get that spot back and solidify it as his own.
Yeah, great stuff. And another person that sort of not stood out to me necessarily, but has been under a lot of criticism in recent weeks. In fact, I'm going to go to Fred first. He's got something to tell me about Tellez. So go on, bro.
Yeah, the thing about Tellez is, you know what you're going to get. You know that he excels in that going forward, and he's probably one of the best crosses in the team, if not the best. He's a bit different to Shaw in that he doesn't generally overlap the wide player, but he does create the angle for the forwards, which could benefit Ronaldo and Cavani. The problem is, A, his defensive work, as Roland alluded to, and B, our midfield do not cover the fullbacks, and it's a bit of an issue. If you see at Liverpool, probably the best team in the league with fullbacks going forward, they have triangles between their defenders, their centre mid, and then their wide player. And generally, the wide player goes forward, the midfielder will cover, and they create that overload in the wide areas. It's a bit of it's tricky for us. Our midfield's just not good enough, unfortunately. Fred, yes, he's good at closing down. He's good. He's tenacious. McTominay, I think there's been a lot of question marks about McTominay, more so this season than ever before, if that was possible. But we need to establish what our style of play is. If we want those wing backs going forward, if we want wing backs to overlap the inside forwards, especially on our left channel, then Tellez would be a great option, especially if Shaw's bang out of form. And the thing is with these players, Sancho, Tellez, Van der Beek, they need a run of games. We can't just expect them to turn up for one Champions League game a month and then rest them for the next 3-4 games. They need a run of games, and then we can actually see how they fit into the team and judge them that way.
Yeah, just to point out, thank you for that, mate. Carthick's pissing about in the background. It's not me, and I think you'll find actually if you were to read the WhatsApp text, it was Carthick that claimed that Fred is better than Conte. But now he was exceptional tonight, actually, Fred. I really thought he came out of his own and really was brilliant. He could string several passes together, but he was tenacious. He did close everything down, and for the second goal that Sancho got, it was him that sort of grabbed hold of the ball, wasn't it, and lunged it forward and did excellent there. So I'm pleased for him. I still don't think he's first team United defensive midfielder quality. But if we can see glimpses of what he can do on things, it should be more often than enough. Then I'm happy with that for now, at least as a squad player. Andrew, sorry bro, been quiet for a little while. It's very difficult getting through 7, especially when Carthick's fucking about. Anyway, Maguire. He was. I was going to move on to Maguire next. I thought he looked a different man tonight. He was a lot more assured. And obviously we kept a clean sheet, but we need to see him being that more assured on a more on a regular basis, and it was really good to see. But I thought he looked like a different man tonight.
Yeah, so he was having control of the defence, and I was thinking which we needed. It was had to be that pragmatic. So when Villarreal were coming on the attack, we needed to be together and. So we were blocking their shots. Okay, they got a couple through, and there was a few moments where it was Villarreal could score at least 1 or 2 here, but we stayed resolute. I mean, yeah, Maguire, he hasn't. That's probably one of his better games. I mean, I think since the Euros, he hasn't been the same player. I mean, it's just I don't know what's down to his form. Where it's just I just can't put what it's down to. So. But yeah, I'd just be interested to see when Varane comes back, whether it's going to be Varane and Maguire or Varane and Lindelof. Because I mean, I just noticed when we were playing Tottenham weeks ago, when it was Maguire and Varane was more leading the side. He was telling everyone where to go. So it was like,
Varane and Bailly.
Go on, Kathy.
yeah, I think he said Varane and Bailly there. There is that
Varane
option
and
as
Bailly.
well. That'd be an
Yeah,
interesting.
Phil Jones in
need
front
to
of them.
remember. You know what? I've seen so many conversations over the last few days about Maguire getting slated, repetitive in interviews and all this bollocks that really doesn't matter. But you've got to remember, class is permanent, form is temporary, as ridiculous as that is, and I know you've all heard it, but he is a great player, and for whatever reason, it could be in numerous things, he just hasn't been very good, and you've got to remember, a defensive partnership and a back four need to be solid. You need to have a bit of solidarity over a number of games in order to gain any momentum, and it's been so bit part this year, and I think you're right. Varane, when he gets back and he's fit and he plays alongside either he or Lindelof, hopefully we'll see some more consistency. Even last year, these players are the same. Lindelof's the same, Maguire's the same, but because they were consistent in that partnership, we were a lot better defensively. So we just have to hope, obviously, when Varane's back, that he does instill that sort of defensive work again and we look a little bit more solid. Marcus, Ronaldo, great goal tonight. And Sancho great on the right. Marcus Rashford obviously coming on and looked actually quite explosive when coming on, which I'm really pleased with. I think he needed a bit of a rest, even if he did make an appearance. Martial, though, on the other hand, wasn't particularly brilliant. Obviously, he did get substituted in the end. Probably a bit of a lack of game time, but do you think he just needs a bit more, a few more minutes? His link-up play was pretty good, but he just looked like he didn't want the ball, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, I think with Martial, it's difficult, right? Because I even saw someone before the game had even started already, putting up a missed compilation of Martial this season. And I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. The Martial haters out. And it's just strange because the whole team wasn't that good in the first half. So as a byproduct of that, at least one of the three in the front three is going to struggle. And this time it was Martial, but it could have been anyone. I think if Rashford had started, he wouldn't have made too much of a difference in that first half, right? Like, I think it was very much about how we changed our approach in the second half. The fact that Villarreal needed to get themselves back into the game, so they opened up at the back and weren't as organized, and now suddenly there's space, right? And I think Martial is just, again, he's a victim of course, he's got to take some of the responsibility, but I think he's a victim of, I think, us not really knowing what we want to do with him, because his best individual season up to date, he was playing in the number 9. Then we signed Cavani, then we signed Ronaldo. Now he's back out on the left after bulking up and doing all this work, trying to become a proper number 9. And I think it's not fair. I really don't think it's fair. And he did score against Everton, and then we never saw him again. So I would ask the question to people who don't like Martial, like, what do you expect from a player who hasn't really played that often in the last few weeks and is playing in a completely different position to the one where his best individual season came from? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, So I do sympathize with Martial. Yes, his body language, his mannerisms don't really help him. His attitude doesn't seem to be the greatest. But at the end of the day, it's the same old argument. We're going in circles, Some people clearly don't like Martial, and, that's the way it is. Nothing I can say will change that.
No, absolutely. You know what? I do like Martial. I know that I seem to go in and on him a little bit, but I just, there are frustrations I do have with him. But I think on the ball, on his day, he's one of the best in the world, genuinely.
Yeah.
And his link-up play is excellent. And it is such a shame. He had an injury last season. He hasn't really come into a run of form. He was pretty poor when he was playing last season. And now we've got Sancho, Ronaldo. So how, he's just not going to get that chance. And it is unfortunate. Just to let you know and keep you updated, Atalanta have just gone 1-0 up within 10 minutes. I know it doesn't really matter from our perspective now as we're through, but obviously it would be interesting to see that we can come top of the league. So they're in second with 8 points. We're top with 10. Villarreal with 7. And of course, those two play each other in the final game. Karthik, this weekend, obviously, we're going to have Chelsea. Now, I know we're going to delve into this a little bit more in a preview, if he's not lagging out. But do you think there will be many changes for this weekend? Do you think that, I know it's one game. Listen, I want to talk about the positivity from it. I know it's one game, but do you think that it could be enough of a lift to try and give us at least a chance to try and get a draw or a win from Chelsea?
I'll probably lag, but I'm going to carry on talking, so you'll hear me eventually. I think we will see changes. I think that's why Bruno didn't start. I think that's probably why Rashford didn't start. I think we'll see them two come straight back in. and probably Luke Shaw as well, even though I don't think he should necessarily be starting that game. But I think we'll go back to, without trying to sound too Green Goblin-y, back to formula. And I think we'll see a difficult game, to be honest. I don't think we'll pull up any trees. I think we'll struggle. I think that Chelsea team looks far better than us at the minute. But hey, you never know. We could have a day where we go there, we're really hard to beat, and we go get a counter attack and go score 2. You never know. So I think it's going to be tough. I think we've got to be prepared for that. I think we've got to be prepared to soak up a lot of pressure and then just go for it and see what we can pick up.
Well, really looking at it, if we kind of go in with the same mentality like we did tonight, be assured, sit back, and then counter them. That's exactly how we really need to play against Chelsea. So I do hope...
A bit more quality in the Chelsea team, though.
I know. Listen, I know it's a different kettle of fish. I get that. They're looking superb at the moment. But listen, as United fans, we need to look at what we can achieve and how we're going to approach that game. And I just hope that we do something similar, because I think we can test them that way. John, you said in the background that you think that some players have pressed for their case in a role in the first team, particularly Sancho and Rashford. Were you impressed with Rashford tonight when he came on?
Yeah, I think there are, a couple of... I think the jury's still very much out on the entire back four, really. I'm not getting too carried away by the clean sheet tonight. Tellers did okay, as we just saw there in the comments, but let's see how he gets on against the upper echelons of the Premier League attacks, if you like. But yeah, I think Rashford did his case no harm. I think Sancho, obviously, he's already been touched on a lot. And sadly, I think Martial's case, whether it's fair or not, I think it has been, once again, been done a little bit of damage again tonight, because for an hour he didn't really do very much. And I know it's not easy coming in and out of the team, but it's kind of how it is at a big club, isn't it? You've just got to take your chance. And players, and I don't want to harp on about the past too much, but players like Solskjaer and Chicharito and so on and so forth, they did take their chance when they came in, and that's what propelled them to become the players that they were. And I think that's, unfortunately, Martial has regressed since that first 12 months that he had at the club. When he burst on the scene against Liverpool, and throughout that he carried us to almost a Champions League place and an FA Cup win, basically. I think he was excellent against Everton in the semis that year. And unfortunately, from that moment onwards, pretty much, he has steadily gone backwards. And we can look at coaches and we can look at all other sorts of circumstances, but he hasn't scored a goal yet this season, I don't think. His goal scoring record, goals to game, is pretty poor the last 2 or 3 years. And as somebody else mentioned in a private chat, they'd be very surprised if he's not gone by next summer. I do disagree slightly with Carrick on a couple of issues. He's got his head in his hands. I just disagree with him about certain players being propelled back into the team. I see us being extremely cautious to start off with against Chelsea. I think had we had, obviously Varane fit and also even Paul Pogba, I think he would just throw everyone into the team and throw everyone into that midfield and make it as congested as possible, I think. And I'm not sure that Rashford will start, despite the fact I think Rashford has done his case some good tonight, and he may end up starting. And I really do think once we're playing teams in the lower half of the Premier League, I think there's a very good argument for saying that Bruno should definitely start, Rashford should start, Sancho, Ronnie, and whatever. We can throw the kitchen sink at these teams. I think where we are right now, we need to go right back to basics. And whether that means putting 3 or 4 players in the centre of the park, whatever we have to do. I wouldn't even be surprised if Matic comes into the team at the weekend, for example, and we just rely on Sancho and to a less extent Ronnie on the break.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Good points, well made. Carrick, you look miserable or knackered as sin, and I just want to know what the problem is. I think there's been.
I just read Fred's message.
United approaching Valverde. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name, but ex-Barcelona man. What are your thoughts?
Why? Pochettino's literally in Manchester today. Just go ring him. I'll go to him if you want.
Which is interesting, actually, because I think Poch
give me the hotel address. I'll go speak to him.
He was
I'll tell him how good the pigeons are in Piccadilly Gardens.
Sorry, Carter. What did you say, bro?
Nothing.
He's gone. Pochettino, I think, was interested in Martial. So on the back of that comment, John, if someone like Pochettino come in? Could it? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who's going to take over. Whether it's going to be now, end of the season. A lot of talks at the moment with Pochettino coming in. It could completely change the dynamic of the team, and you could see some players that we expect to play, maybe not to play so often, but could work in favour of Martial. What were you saying, Karthik? He's gone. He's gone. Roland, your thoughts on Martial, mate, and where do you think he lies now, and do you think it could be a change for him if someone comes in that prefers him?
I mean, like, the thing about Martial is obviously we already know, like just from an ability perspective, like he's very good with the ball at his feet. He can dribble, he can get past the man, and that was really in the early phase of his time at United. And then 2 seasons ago, when he top scored for the team, I think he got 24, 25 in all comps that season, right? You said to yourself, like, okay, kick on from there. And like he just didn't do it. And it's just like, I don't know if that's because he was asked to play in the 9 the next season, and so Solskjaer wanted him to bulk up a little bit more, and so then he lost a yard of pace. And then obviously when Cavani came in, I feel like there's a problem with his mentality for me. I feel like when he gets added competition in there, he kind of slips off. And it's like, no, when you're at an elite club, you're going to have competition. You have to outwork the person next to you. Like, Cavani's 34 years old. You're a 23, 24-year-old. You should be outworking him in training and outworking him on the pitch as well. And so I feel like that's where he's kind of lost it, I think. You know, when you're at an elite level club, you have to outwork everybody. And to be honest with you, at this point in time, I mean, he looks short of confidence. You can see he's not doing the things that he's good at. Like, and, you know, I feel like for him, it's going to be this. I said before the start of the season, this was a make or break season for him. And now with the added competition of Ronaldo and Sancho and Rashford and all of that, it doesn't look like it's going to be a positive return to the side. And he probably will leave in the summer, I think. But we'll have to wait and see.
Doesn't look good, does it? And you're right. I said this last season. I think that was his make or break. Listen, I don't want to talk about anybody negatively at all. I want everyone to have their chance and get enough minutes. But unfortunately, you have a rotation of about 5 players, and Martial doesn't really come into those top 5 at the minute. So it doesn't look good at all. John, I'm going to do a quick roundup of everyone's final thoughts, really. Obviously, we got the win, 3 points, 2-0, clean sheet into the last stages. But yeah, your overall thoughts, mate, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've pretty much discussed the game to death, and I'm sure we've discussed the managerial sort of situation as well in the last week or so, or the last few days even. But I do want to highlight something that I haven't heard mentioned in the last 24 hours in particular, which is that suddenly there's been this notion that we're going to be appointing a manager this week, a permanent manager, you know, and the hope is obviously that would be Pochettino. And I think there's only 2 serious candidates out there for me. I think Zidane is laughable. Even if he was desperate for the job, I wouldn't give it to someone who doesn't speak English and has no Premier League experience, and doesn't really have that kind of, in my opinion, that wherewithal to drag a team from where we are to where we need to be. Has no qualifications whatsoever. So for me, it's just Ten Hag or Pochettino, which actually, to me, for once, probably the only thing I can think of in the last 8 years that made any sense to me was actually that idea of getting someone in interim till the end of the season, letting Carrick take a game or 2 while we fix that, if you like. But then, if this is true that someone is actually ready, such as Pochettino, to come and take over this week or next week, that would just, in a way, I'd be delighted because we'd have the guy, one of the 2 guys I want to come in straight away. I'd be delighted with that. But actually, it would also look ridiculous given that message we put out a couple of days ago. So I'm kind of drawn on this, because actually, if let's say brilliant, Pochettino is ready to take over in the next 7 to 10 days, let's say, that would just go to show how lucky we are, but actually how just so little planning that actually even on Sunday, the club were not aware that Pochettino wanted to take over immediately. Because so I just can't believe, despite all the people that seem to know far more and have far more context than me, that's true. But I just cannot believe that Pochettino will be leaving the PSG role this week or any time before the end of the season. So it just makes no sense to me. And if somebody gave me a whisper of that, and then I saw it was on social media, I'd want a bit more than a whisper to be sure of that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm ready that he does take over. But it would just, if he was to take over in a weird way, it would just go to show how little the club knew about what was going on in the world. Because I know with certain situations were tapping people up, but surely on Sunday they would have known if Pochettino wanted the job immediately or not.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a strange one. Obviously, they've flip-flopped a little bit, and I think it just kind of emphasised just how well things are run at United, really. But I can't imagine that they haven't had these conversations previously. You know, they knew Ollie was going through a bit of a difficult time for a couple of months, and I just can't imagine that anyone at United wouldn't want egg on their face that they hadn't had these conversations. And I think they've known for a long time that he has wanted the job.
But I think they've known that he wants it at the end of the season. I just can't. You wouldn't put out a statement like that saying. I mean, there was lots of questions left afterwards, but there were 2 or 3 certainties. 1, Carrick takes over for the next game or games. 2, interim coach at the end of the season. 3, permanent appointment at the end of the season. So those things are black and white in there. If suddenly they appointed a permanent person in the next week or 2. That just means that statement was just a flat out lie, and I don't think they would intentionally lie. They just don't know where their arse is from their elbow.
No, I think you're absolutely right. We'll have to wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Andrew, final thoughts on the game, mate? Any standout performers in your man of the match?
So it was an important win to obviously qualify for the last 16 and to do it with a game to spare as well. And that was despite us losing the first Champions League game against young boys as well. So that was a positive to take from the game tonight. And also just to highlight, I think Van der Beek and Sancho, their partnership, it could become a lethal partnership. I mean, like on Saturday against Watford, when Van der Beek was introduced, Sancho seemed to be the biggest beneficiary of this. And I mean, they've been enjoying 1 or 2 touch interchanges, and I know they haven't played together much, but I mean, like again tonight, they're just linked up and they were very looking for one another, and obviously over time they'll get a better understanding of each other. And also Sancho capped it off with a goal at the end as well. And then say, looking towards Chelsea, I think if we set up the way against Villarreal, be pragmatic, just hopefully try and keep Chelsea at bay for like a good 60 minutes, and then just try and work our way in and get on the attack a bit more and try and maybe nick a 1-0, and then hopefully. And also, just as John was mentioning about the manager situation, I just don't think we should have an interim manager. It's just going to create more confusion for the players. And just like, you need a manager to come in and just like set his ideas up how he wants the team to play. So I'm hoping, as the saying is, Poch is in Manchester at the moment. And I think the release clause is about 10 million to PSG, so we can afford it. Go and pay it, get him out, and then bring him to the club.
Yeah, good points. And good points on Van der Beek and Sancho. I know we're not seeing them much, but you're absolutely right. Sancho really came on when he came on, and I think there's a lot of intelligence between both of those players, and we saw that again tonight, really. And we'll have to see how that relationship forms.
It could be a lethal partnership when it starts to get going.
Absolutely. And listen, if that's something we've not experimented with before, and that's something that could really benefit us, then yeah, I'm happy to obviously see how that comes out in the next couple of weeks. Just a quick one. Young boys have equalised, which is the perfect result for us. 1-1 at the minute, which means that we would finish top, going on head-to-head with Villarreal. I'm correct with that, aren't I? So that's exactly what we want, and long may it continue to be 1-1. Fred, good to have you on again tonight, buddy. Always a man of lots of information that I can listen to all night, and I do appreciate that. But yeah, your final thoughts, mate, and any particular player for your man of the match?
Sancho for me, man of the match. I think he was showing glimpses of quality in the first and second half, even though it was a pretty dull first half all round. As mentioned earlier, I think that Donny-Sancho partnership could flourish, provided they get a run of games in the near future. In terms of the managerial position, I genuinely, I've got one of the most pessimistic views towards our board, our club. I think if they actually had a vision or strategy regarding replacing Ollie, that would have been done over the international break. The fact that they didn't act in 2 weeks, and then just the Watford game, they just completely changed their opinion or U-turn. It just says it all, really. I agree with the guys. An interim manager, it's just, I mean, it's just a can of worms, really. There's no stability whatsoever in that. Equally, if we want to get our actual first targets, it's unlikely that we're going to get them mid-season. So I agree with John. My first or my top targets would be Pochettino or Ten Hag, but it just won't happen mid-season. So whether the board have written off this season, I think they have pretty much. And it looks like they are going to get Valverde, that as the BBC are reporting. I don't know how that will impact things. Today's performance. The other thing is, where's that performance come from? Just because Ollie's gone, why have the players just decided to turn up 2 days
They
later?
were damned if they do, damned if they don't. Really,
absolutely.
We spoke about this before the game.
Absolutely, it's just I just don't get it. I really don't get it. How just changing the manager and we get a clean sheet and a few goals, whereas going by the performance on the weekend, we could have easily got battered. But yeah, look, hopefully this is a sort of platform to build on. The Chelsea game is going to be very, very difficult, and I think the Arsenal game is going to be equally difficult the week after. Hopefully we get some confidence from the clean sheet. De Gea's had another good game, saved 2 penalties in his last game, technically speaking. Yeah, look, I think a few players tonight have thrown their hat in the ring and they've done no harm. And hopefully they can get some confidence and Carrick can keep this momentum going for the near future.
Let's hope. Yeah, good points, well made, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I hope it's an easy game against Arsenal, because I'm going to that and taking my 16-year-old brother, and it's his first game at Old Trafford. So I hope we absolutely annihilate him 5-0, but we'll wait and see. Roland, great to have you on, my man. Great points tonight. Thank you ever so much. And yeah, just your final thoughts, mate. And yeah, you might as well tell me about your managerial concerns or positives about it as well. Is he there? Roland? All right, Marcus, I come to you, bro.
Oh, geez, now my camera's fallen. Great. My thoughts on the managerial situation, it's pretty simple. I'm going to be getting an Argentina flag, shipped this weekend to put it behind me during the videos, for Pochettino. No, but on a serious note, Zidane was my preferable choice, and I know some people don't quite like Zidane or the idea of Zidane choosing Manchester United, and that's okay. We don't have to agree on anything. But look, I've come to the realization that whether it's Pochettino, whether it's Ten Hag, whether it's Brendan Rodgers or any of the managers we've been linked to, we're going to have to come to the realization as a fan base that none of them are going to come in and instantaneously make an impact, right? Like that ship has sailed. Conte was the guy who was going to come in and win you a trophy very quickly. Pochettino doesn't do that. Ten Hag doesn't do that. Brendan Rodgers doesn't do that. They're project managers. So again, we're going to have to make peace with the fact that we could possibly see another rebuild, another building for the future FC project. And one of the big frustrations I have at the moment, looking beyond the amazing performance tonight and the optimism or carry going into the Chelsea game, is where is the clarity? Because I've said this a lot of times, both on this channel and on my own personal channel, like where is the clarity? Where are we going this season? What is the standard? And I very much doubt that this board actually has a long-term plan. I very much wouldn't be surprised if we actually got Pochettino in the next 10 days, despite releasing a club statement saying we're going to get an interim, because I actually think this board is reactionary. I actually think that they change their mind based on circumstances rather than actually having a plan and sticking to it, but that's just my 2 cents. And yeah, I'm very happy with the result tonight, because it was the first time going into a United game in a long time that I actually felt excited. I didn't care who the manager was. I didn't care, what the team sheet was going to be. Yeah, I saw McFred, but I wasn't even mad. I was just like, okay, Donny in the 10, interesting. Let's see what happens, And I want to feel like that about Manchester United. I don't want to go into every game thinking, oh, what's the point if we win? Because Ollie's still in charge anyways, So that was refreshing. And yeah, overall, I'm happy. If Pochettino comes, cool. If Ten Hag comes, cool. If it's Brendan Rodgers, I know some people don't want him, but I'll be cool. I'm happy either way.
Excellent. Thank you very much, my man. And Roland, your last thoughts, mate. And yeah, your man of match and any other business.
In terms of the managerial situation, I'm a Ten Hag guy. I've been watching them specifically in the Champions League this season. The way they tore apart Dortmund over those 2 games, it tells you enough. Look, where football is. Look at where football is now. We're a modern game, man. It's possession based. It's high press. And if you put Ten Hag into this team, I feel like there's enough capable footballers in our side that will be able to adapt to his style of play. And I want to steal a march on City because I know that City have already planned ahead for Pep's departure, and they're looking at Ten Hag right now. I'd rather just steal a march on them, and then we can sort out the rest later, because I feel like he's good enough as a manager to force change in behind the scenes. Because if, let's say, similar to Klopp, his system was so defined that whatever player you threw in there, they could at least do something within it. And then it kind of proved to the board, okay, we got to lean to this guy's methods and let him take charge and let him bring the players he wants in. So if you bring a Ten Hag and he does that, then slowly but surely we'll see the side shaped in his image. And I feel like that's going to force a bit of change. That's why I would prefer him. If Poch comes in, I'm not. It's underwhelming for me. It was something that we were looking at 3 years ago. He was the guy we was looking at 3 years ago. That ship has sailed for me. But we don't know what the situation is going to be. The interim situation is funny to me because where's Valverde come out all of a sudden? It's a very, very strange name to just be picked out of a hat. All of a sudden, he's now going to be the manager. I don't mind, but it is what it is. I mean, we're dealing with the clowns, the Glazers in charge, so we let them do what they need to do. We just support the team as we need to do, and it is what it is.
I've just read a good one.
Right.
I've just read a good one. Duncan Castles says it has linked us with Gattuso for the interim. That's how out of hand it's getting. Absolute bollocks.
I'm pleased everyone just looked at that in disbelief and shook their head, because that says it all.
Well, but then Duncan Castle will probably link us to everyone over the next couple of weeks, and then he'll claim to get it right at the end of the day. It's like my father used to tell me all the time that house prices are going to go down. He said it for 15 years. Eventually they went down. He said, "Told you so." That's Duncan Castles. I think my father has more of an idea about football than that guy did, by the way. My father hasn't been to a game for 30 years.
Duncan Castles,
exactly.
He's trying to.
I just want to say thanks for tuning in tonight, everybody. Thanks for your comments. Really good debates going on. Thank you, boys, for coming on. Really, really good stuff. And listen, my just to put my 2 pennies in, not that you give a shit, but I wanted Luis Enrique or Ten Hag as well. And I'd had this conversation about Poch the other day, and I've actually had my view changed a little bit. I did like Pochettino, and I did want him to come in 3 years ago. And I think it's down to my naivety that I assumed that he wasn't doing as well. He's actually doing a very good job at PSG. He's actually handling probably some of the biggest egos in world football right now. Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, okay? And ultimately, he overachieved, if anything, at Spurs. He didn't have a lot of money. He brought through a lot of youth, which is what we're all about and we love to bang on about. But he's also, if he does join us, he's then got some money to play with. And I do think, whilst he plays very pragmatically, he's absolutely stormed that Champions League group. That's a tough group. I think he's done excellently. And yeah, I think if he's given that money to bring the right players in, who knows? He plays pragmatically, he plays a high press and attacking football. And I think that he sets up for every game as opposed to trying to get one identity, a 4-2-3-1, which Ollie did, and that was a massive downfall at his. He wanted that idea to work. But Pochettino, Klopp, Tuchel, they all change for every single game. And listen, I wouldn't be frustrated if he came in. And I worry for every manager that comes in now, just because over the last 8 years. But we'll just have to see. Yeah, like I said, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks, boys. And 2-0 win. Really happy. Needed that response. Needed a win and a clean sheet. And I'm over the moon with that. So we'll see what happens at the weekend. It could be back to the usual and being negative and being upset. And here I am again hosting another show where it's a shitstorm. But hopefully that's not the case. But listen, thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.